One Piece chapter 986. My name is officially out, so of course it's time to talk about it. The cover page consists of Pound, and it seems like his family's actually leaving him because they don't believe he is who he says he is. I mean, I'm not surprised if a man with a big face just shows up and says that, yo, I'm your father. I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably believe him, but they don't. They don't believe him, so I'm not sure what's next for this cover page, but it seems like they're leaving Pound behind it. It's obviously a gag. This warrants a chuckle. It warrants a chuckle. But anyway, let's get to the chapter because it was a very exciting chapter and it's a lot to really get into. Okay, now another Kurozumi is down. Kanjuro is supposedly dead, which I don't think is the case at all. However, this was inevitable. He was challenging all the other scabbards by himself without really thinking about it. Last chapter, Orochi got cut down. This chapter is Kanjuro. Now, nobody thought Kanjuro could beat all the scabbards by himself. There was no way, but for him, he was buying time so that they can execute Momonosuke. And this goes back to Kanjuro's loyalty, in which it's really unparalleled and unmatched, that he's willing to sacrifice himself for the Kurozumi. But it's hard for me to really think that the Kurozumi storyline ends here. It's so much, I think, that needs to be wrapped up in regards to their history, in which, you know, the sins of your fathers and the sins of your last name, how it truly impacts you. And I think that's part of the reason why it affected Kiku so much. Of course, Izo seems to be a bit disconnected because Izo has not been in Wano for a long time. So it's not going to hit Izo the same way, even though Izo is a scabbard, or suppose Izo was a retainer of Odin's. For Kanjuro, based on how he was raised and who he was, it seems like this is one of the few routes he could take. Being an actor was a fiber of his being, so for them, the memories that they shared with him, they were real. So to quote-unquote murder this man, it genuinely hurt them. Kinemon and Dendro being the supposed leaders of the scabbards at this point, it makes a lot of sense. Dendro not only suffering for 20 years working with Orochi, and Kinemon being somewhat Odin's first retainer, they've kind of earned this spot. And not to say that all the scabbards didn't go through their own things, but for Dendro, he had to be subservient to the man for 20 years he had a hand in killing Odin. And he did all this while protecting Hiyori. And Kinemon, on the other hand, it wasn't a 20-year thing, but he had to protect Momonosuke. So these two in particular, they're in charge of carrying on Odin's legacy, figuratively and literally. And we also can't ignore the fact that these are his two first retainers. So I didn't mind it at all. Translation here clears up the Izo and Kinemon moment, in which Kinemon, he's already somewhat made his last stand. When they first got to Onigashima, him destroying the ships, he does not plan to leave Wano or leave Onigashima without Kaido's head. And for Izo, he clarified it by saying that he's missed many chances for glorious and meaningful death. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Marineford. But we also can't leave out the payback war. This moment with Kaido and Orochi's previous followers, the more I read it, the more I'm not sure about it. They speak of the loyalty of the samurai. For the most part, they've been loyal to Orochi for 20 years, at least 20 years. But at the first opportunity they had, they just turned on him, or they just started following Kaido. Wano citizens and people of Wano, they seem to be very idealistic and grounded in their beliefs. So for every single one to just turn tail and follow Kaido, I wonder if there's going to be any infighting going on, or anybody questioning the decisions of the general in Hote, or the captain in Fukurokuju. It just seems a bit weird that nobody questioned it. I mean, of course Yogoro did because, you know, the pride of a warrior, but I guess people just want to live. There's no way they voluntarily would like to go up against King Jack and Queen. We saw it. They sighed, you know, after Fukurokuju said, yo, no, we'll follow you, Kaido, because Kaido's crew, they're just that intimidating. We'll see what comes of it, but I think samurai pride is a real thing in Wano, and there's still a good amount of story left. So Momonosuke and Kaido is getting rid of the old guard. And for him, knowing the history of the Beast Pirates, how they like to do things, they want to break you down. They don't mind adding people to their forces if they're significant or strong enough or have some potential. But at first they have to break you down. And for Kaido, he's trying to do that to this child. Kaido clearly has Odin PTSD. He even said that he's always had a nagging doubt in his mind. How could someone like you be the son of Kozuki Odin? Meaning Kaido thinks very highly of Odin. And for Momonosuke, he hadn't been impressed with him at all. So he's saying, throw away your name and then I won't kill you. This has a lot of significance just based off of things Momo has done, things the scabbards have done, and just Wano in general and old traditions. Discarding your name is a huge deal, and Momonosuke, he's not afforded that luxury. But this is truly a shining moment for Momonosuke. Sometimes I think people forget that he's a child, that he's literally a kid, and the events that took place was not that long ago from when he experienced them. Yeah, it's 20 years ago in real time, but he was sent forward. So a lot of these things are still very fresh in his mind. So these things he has to overcome while being a kid, and he has to step up for the people of Wano. And I think in the face of all this adversity, Momonosuke has been special. He has a lot to live up to, but I think it's unrealistic to expect a kid, and he's just gone through some very traumatic experiences, to be brave in the face of everything. He's had some growing pains, but now this moment in which he tells them he's Kozuki Momonosuke, the man who will become the shogun, great brilliant moment. Love that moment from Momonosuke. Let's talk a bit about Luffy's development, not only as a fighter, but as a person in general. This moment with Yamato in the cups, it's hilarious because Yamato did not think her father would kill her. He didn't believe it. Then Luffy, he's using this advanced haki on command now, which is showing his development and growth as a fighter. But outside of that, after they made it in time, Yamato and Luffy, they're very close to Kaido and the others. Luffy says, "We're not the ones who will start this battle," as if he either saw it or he felt like it was not his place to land the first blow on Kaido in this war. And this is something that we really have to talk about. Luffy and him just growing so much in Wano, realizing different things, acting a bit better. Luffy normally, and how he rationalizes things, it doesn't matter. He's normally the one going headfirst in. So I think it's showing some growth in regards to where he is. And I think Yamato's a reflection of who he used to be or where he used to be. So that contrast could be really dope, especially if Yamato joins the crew. Needless to say, the Akazaya Samurai, they pull up on Kaido and they have one of the best moments in Wano in which they all leapt at Kaido and yelled, "Tsunachi." Now, for Tsunachi, I think some people forgot exactly what it meant. So in chapter 950, when Ashura Doji was trying to convince his men or his people not to go and raid Kaido, they mentioned exactly what Tsunachi is. It's from when they were kids. When people value themselves too much, they become cowards who take no risks. Sa, render your name and be as a child. Leap before you look, and remember our abbreviation, Tsunachi, right? So that goes back to the whole reason of what they're doing here. They know they can't beat Kaido. They understand this is a risk. They've cast away all pride. And obviously they're not cowards. So them taking this risk here, they're leaping before they look. And that's why they yell Tsunachi. Because at this point, they're not fighting for themselves. They're fighting for Kozuki Oden, Kozuki Momonosuke, and Kizuki Yuri, and of course, Lady Toki. But not only them, but also for the people of Wano. This is 20 years of turmoil, 20 years of pain that they've had to endure, and all of this is casted into their blades, and that's how they were able to blitz Kaido the way they did. This moment was truly spectacular. Once you reread Wano, going back and remembering those Oden moments, everything he had to do for Kaido, they deserved this. They needed this moment. And for Kaido, he feels like their swords can't hurt him, can't do anything to him. I don't think he expected the force that they came with. And again, it's also fitting the two people at the front of this, Denjiro and Kinemon. Granted, I think Ashura Doji and Denjiro do the most damage, but hey, Denjiro and Kinemon, they're leading the charge. While Kawamatsu, he's attacking King over there. And some people are speculating that King is using some form of barrier haki because Kawamatsu is attacking him, but it's not getting to him. There's something that's blocking those attacks. Speaking of King, he's been getting clowned for the moment in which Izo shot his sword out of his hand. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this means absolutely nothing. Yes, King is the perceived right hand of Kaido, and Izo is but a mere 16th commander of Whitebeard. At the end of the day, they're both commanders. Not a big deal, it will be fine. It's a moment in which they were ambushed by several people. Izo uses a gun. I'm sure that will never happen again to King, from Izo especially. But nonetheless, a great moment. Used to hype Izo, then to downplay King is just one moment, one small, insignificant moment. Funny to talk about, but genuinely not a big deal at all. So let's not make that a thing because it's not a big deal. Even if you want to make fun of it and make jokes, that's cool, but let's not get toxic and make this truly a thing because guys, this is not a big deal at all. It's one small moment. But this is showing us Izo is not a slouch in his own right. But yeah, guys, I think I want to talk about Momonosuke more in depth. And I'm going to try to get something out tomorrow in regards to Momo because I think it's truly significant, his journey and where we are now. Before I end this, I just have to give a quick shout out to Nekomamushi. And even though at the end of this chapter, Kaido was holding his head like a stress ball, Nekomamushi did a very impressive thing this chapter that I don't think a lot of people are talking about or I haven't seen it around the community, but he managed to disarm Kaido. Nekomamushi, we know he lost his arm and all that, but he is physically a monster. Like Capone knows about that. He comes in and he disarmed Kaido. And I feel like King is getting a lot more shit than Kaido is, and he lost his weapon to Nekomamushi. I'm not sure if it's because people downplay Izo and they feel like Nekomamushi is somewhat very strong, but that was impressive. I think anyone else would get a lot more credit, but Nekomamushi is not getting as much credit I feel like he deserves. And Queen's facial expressions. I mean, what would we do without them? And Jack, we know he's always sweaty. So his face when he realized the Mink Kings were alive is like, bro, yeah, you didn't really kill them. You put them on a stake or you put them on a crucifix. You know, crucify and chill, but he didn't really kill him, bro. That's what happens. You have to kill these people. You have to make sure they dead. Should listen to Orochi. But give me your thoughts. How do you feel about the chapter? I thought it was really good. The Scabbards definitely earned this, for sure. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDA. Follow Follow me on Instagram at brogdy.ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Things are heating up, guys. Things are heating up, and I hope you guys are ready for this because Wano is definitely approaching its climax. But again, thank you guys so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.